Hello everyone, this is Dr. Taima Mitweli and we are at our final chapter or topic, which is leadership change. So how would you as a leader deal with change? And this is what we're going to talk about now. Now, some of the objectives that we're going to cover is basically understanding complex organization change. We're going to also go through leading organization change. And then the final topic that we're going to go through is leading cultural change. So as you know, that change has a major impact on a lot of organizations, and you as the leader need to have the skills and strategies to overcome that. And this is what we're going to go through today. Okay, so part of this topic number 6 is basically going to go through our first subject is understanding the complex organization change. So what do you need to understand? You need to analyze the complex change driving. So what you need to do is you need to analyze why do you need to actually make the change. Well, obviously from your research and from your data that you've obtained, especially when you conducted your SWOT, from your opportunities and your threats, you'll be able to determine these external factors, and you may have to conduct some changes. And even though we're talking about external factors, some internal factors such as your weaknesses may require a complete change of strategy into your organization. So basically, we're talking here some points on slide number 3. This is due to a large number of stakeholders that are involved in organization change and wide range of spheres in which organization engages. So this increases the number of environmental cues that the organization must monitor. So you need to keep a very close monitor, what's going out inside in your organization and outside, and how can you analyze that and how can you make a change for improvement. And that change is conducted for a number of reasons: to increase performance, to increase production, to enhance the culture, and many other aspects as well. Now, some of the tools that I'll probably highly recommend you as per page number 4 is a tool called PEST. Okay, this PEST stands for political, economic, social, cultural, and technological concerns with the organization itself. And with that PEST, there's also an additional 2 letters that has been added for another additional tool, which is called PESTLE or LIPSET. So the common name is actually PESTLE, and the additional 2 names is environmental and legal by adding the E and the L. Okay, so these are the main factors that you need to analyze for your specific organization. So as an example, we're going to go through this from environmental factor. What environmental factor that your organization is facing? Is it conducting too much pollution? What can you do for the environment itself? Political, how much of an impact of political is going to cause to your organization, and what you need to do to ensure to overcome that. Again, from economic point of view, from social, cultural, and technology. I mean, at the moment, technology plays a major impact, especially where AI is enhancing so quickly and conducting a lot of penetration through many organizations. Now, the next slide, which is slide number 5, is talking about the complex with this change. Now, you need to have a structure. Okay, so most organizations are divided into components based either on the functions. So, for example, ITs, finance, from these departments, or you could be talking about from a geographic location, example, Melbourne office, Sydney office, etc., etc. And these all can be taken as an example. The structure of the organization is generally hierarchical, and each of these discrete components of the organization may experience different change drivers and a different combination of change. Okay, so what you need to determine is what structure are you going to undertake to ensure that change will be implemented in your organization. Now, whenever you're implementing a change, there will always be a resistance. Unfortunately, the main resistance you might be facing is from your employees. We've been doing this process for so many years. Why change now? By changing, I got to learn new rules, new tools, new softwares, and I really, I'm too old for this. I've been with the organization for 20 years or 30 years. I don't really have the patience to learn new tools or new softwares or new strategies. I am so comfortable with the old strategy. Okay, it was working for me. Let's keep going. Okay, so your main resistance will be usually is your internal, which is from your staff members, and this will be a major concern for you. Now, what you need to do is I need to overcome that. Now, the strategy that we actually utilize to overcome that is you need to provide the benefits of that change. What do I mean by that? If you're implementing a new software, if you're implementing a new technology as an example, you need to show to these stakeholders that this will save time, it actually will provide more accuracy, it will increase performances, it will increase profit. So all these benefits that will be implemented. Yes, it's a new technology, you need to take some more training, you need to understand the software, etc., etc. But for the organization, it provides such a more dynamic change and more dynamic benefits for the organization in general. Now, one of the resistance that you also might be faced is that, well, if I'm actually going to be implementing this technology, will I have a job tomorrow? Okay, especially with AI coming into the market. Now, yes, you need to explain, okay, that if this particular technology or software will take over their job, you need to provide security, okay? And if you can't, then you got to explain to them, well, no, unfortunately, you got to be honest with your stakeholders. But if you are providing an alternative job or role for them, you need to explain, well, this technology will take this job and the benefit is this, but you'll be taking into another role, which is also a much better, easier. You don't have to require a lot more physical. It just basically require more analytical work, explain the benefit from their sides, so that way they can understand it. So you need to ensure that you understand the process, and then you can actually pass that information to your employees, because facing change in organization is always difficult and it's not usually accepted by your employees. Now, in the next slide, slide number 8, the process for implementing the change. Now, we commence by establishing a sense of urgency. So if we have to conduct a change, you need to explain, well, we need to implement a change, because if we don't, we're going to lose track and our competitors will beat the market and they'll win our customers and we'll not have any business, which means that we're going to close the doors, which means that you will not have a job and we and I will not have a job. Is that what you want? Is this really what you want? And this is what you need to liaise and pass a message. If you're not going to be on track and conduct a change, you may lose the boat, as they say. Okay, and therefore another organization may take the bigger pie of your customers, okay, which will impact on your revenue, which will impact on your profits. Okay, the next thing is actually creating a guiding solution. Now, this is really making sure that you have a strategy in place, linking to developing vision and strategies, making sure that this new change is linked to your vision and mission and strategy itself, making sure this has been communicated through all the parties, making sure that empowering others to act on that vision, give them empowerment, and then you actually need to plan and create short-term wins. So, by you implementing this role, you're going to win and we're going to win. So it's a win-win situation rather than a win for organization and a loss for the employee. Okay. Now, the next one is actually improvement and produce more change. So basically you need to consolidate with your employees, conduct some improvements, and make sure what other changes that we need to do to make it better. Okay. Anchoring new approaches in culture and making sure that the culture of the organization is able to accept change, implement change, and that way you're all heading in the same direction itself. Okay, and this is actually an 8-stage by Quarter's change management model on slide number 8. Now, in relation to the steps and what it's involved is basically explained here in step by step on slide number 9, which is step number 1, create a sense of urgency. So it's stating here, in order for people to have the level of motivation necessarily for your change to succeed, they need to see the sense of urgency. Okay, they need to know what change is needed now. So obviously, what could be more of an urgency if we do not do this change? We're going to close the doors. We're going to go through liquidation. We're going to lose the big market. Okay, we're going to lose our customers. Okay, so this is very important. Step number 2, develop a team of leaders that represent the entire organization. This team should have the expertise and influence necessary to bring, obviously, credit to the change itself. So what you need to do is you need to select individuals from the organization itself that can provide, such an influence to its team. So you may have certain particular people that are very well respected, are very well, highly recommended by these employees. So by you putting them and give them empower that you will be allocated for this task, and you need to influence your team to accept that change, that is a strategy by itself. The third step is basically the vision and the strategy behind it should be well focused. So you need to make sure that the mission and the vision and the strategy itself are adherent to that change itself and communicated properly in that change, and obviously to be amended. Okay. The step number 4, you need to communicate that vision to all your stakeholders. Communicate with the goal of getting buy-in from your audience. What I mean by buy-in is that the benefits, okay, by you accepting that change, this is the benefits that you will get, less labor from your perspective, saving time, etc., etc., etc. Encourage a dialogue that is easy to understand, clear, and easy to share, okay? This is all step 4. Step number 5 now is empower others to act. This is where determine what barriers are in place, okay, such as an example, organizational structure, employee skill sets, individuals' resistance, which is usually the common ones, to change, and work to remove these barriers as far in advance as possible. So what you need to do, empower others, individuals who can actually work on these obstacles to eliminate them, to ensure it's an easier impact to implement change. Step number 6 is create quick wins, which is basically short-term wins on the way to long-term change, which will help overcome resistance and build momentum. And such as basically you could even creating incentives or bonuses, such as examples. Step number 7, don't let up. Okay, so resistance to change can re-emerge later in the process, but continue to remove them and move the change forward by keeping the urgency high. Encourage employees' empowerment and greater focus on the strategic vision by the leadership. So even though the process has commenced and during halfway or 60% or 70% of the process, you may get employees coming up and saying, we can't do this anymore. No, this is too much. You need to, again, reinforce it, explain the urgency of it, and working with these people who've been empowered to, again, to influence these individuals who are against the change or making a big fuss about the change. Step number 8 is infuse the change into corporate culture. As Coulter put it, make it stick. New employees should see the change as part of the culture. Existing employees should see as a benefit over the previous ways of being. So very important is that you as the organization, you as the leader, you as the CEO, the one that's driving through the organization, you need to have that change part of the organization itself. Okay, that change should be part of the culture, that when change is actually been introduced, it should be accepted. Okay, this is a norm. Okay, not should be taken as a, oh no, this is impossible. Okay, now there are 4 steps in relation to promoting change, and this is an example here given by Gavin and Roberto: change through persuasion. Okay, so you've got 4 phases here. It's where you actually, the phase number 1, you convince employees that radical change is imperative, and that it's the way to go. So you need to explain these benefits. Phase number 2, position and frame preliminary plan, gather feedback, enhance final plan. Phase number 3 is you manage employee mood through constant communication. And phase number 4, reinforce behavioural guidelines and avoid backsliding. So these are the 4 strategies where you as the leader need to persuade the process and ensure it's actually implemented through the organisation itself. Okay, so overcoming resistance can be done by a number of techniques. Is that you need to educate and communicate with your stakeholders. If they're not educated and they're not communicated on the benefits, on the overall, benefit of that change, they're not going to know why they have to do the change. Okay, get them involved. Okay, support them by training them, by giving them what they need. You might have to actually negotiate agreements. So if they have to do more work, increase the salary. Give them maybe bonuses, or give them extra holiday time. So negotiate agreement where they can actually convince them. Okay, so this is all part of your, creating this, overcoming the resistance of change in the organisation. Now the next slide, in slide number 14, talks about is your approaches and techniques. So say for example, when you as a leader give an approach of education and communicating with these stakeholders, where it's used is actually the quality information, it's been analysed and could be actually used as even poor information. So making sure the information you've been given is proper and legit. Advantages, okay, 1, persuaded people will get behind the change and help with the implementation. Okay, drawbacks can be very time consuming if lots of people are involved. So what we're saying that here as an example, with using this technique of education and communication, that if you're providing information, making sure the information is correct and accurate, so that way there's no questions being provided or being concerned with our stakeholders. Now, also keep in mind that you need to persuade this change and let them know that, hold on, you're going to be providing these, support by educating them and training them and keep them updated. And the drawbacks with that is that because you may have 5,000 staff, is that you might not be able to train them all at the same time, so they may take a bit of a timing with that. So there is a bit of a strategy that is involved when you're implementing education into larger organisation. And it talks about all the other strategies of the advantages and disadvantages, etc. Again, such as negotiation agreement. Okay, that this will give a bit of a great self-esteem and will avoid resistance by me getting something back from me. I'm going to get an extra pay rise. I'm going to obtain, an extra 2 weeks or 3 weeks, free paid holidays, as an example. So all these are examples where you can actually utilize as techniques and strategies to avoid resistance from your stakeholders, because they're going to be your main obstacles. And the other thing is that you need to be aware is that part of your biggest resistance with the obstacles is making sure that you use the right resources, either from technology, AI, or softwares, or computers, or machinery, or whatever it may be. Making sure that is the best option, and you got to really make sure that your R&D is spot on, and that is the best option at the current market. Because if it's not, it might cost you a lot of money to conduct another change in the near future, that's the last thing that you want to do. Okay. Now, part of the next topic is leading a cultural change that you need to make sure, it could be also part of your core values, is that you need to implement and accept cultural change in the organization itself. Okay. This is important, and this can be organized by, again, seminars and meetings, and get them really by conducting many meetings and speeches. What you're doing is you're repeating that message, and you're getting them to be engraved in their minds. Okay, so as it states here, according to Daft in 2008, cultures may be measured according to 3 main criteria: how strong they are, whether they are adaptive, and whether they contribute to higher performance. Okay, so leading to cultural change is very, very important. And if the culture itself of the organization needs to change because it's not performing well, it's not really what the board of directors wanted, or etc., then that needs to be implemented through, from top to bottom, but it needs to be enforced. Okay. Now, the Daft has also identified 3 specific culture values that typify high performance in organization. The greater good outweigh the specific unit within the organization. Okay, equality and trust are achievable values. Risk-taking and change and improvement are encouraged. So where you can use these 3 techniques by implementing trust in your organization, and by you implementing this cultural change is the benefit for the organization, and by having that trust, that this will be far more accepted, as an example. Okay. Again, the next slide, Daft also talks about 6 cultural change mechanisms that can help the leader to fulfill their role effectively. Okay, so one mechanism is by coordinating ceremonies, telling stories, communicating with symbols, developing specialized language, selection and socialization of staff, and reinforcing value through their daily actions. So the main thing that I would like to conclude now is basically that if you really, and we're going through this timing now, that every organization need to accept change, need to be implemented part of its culture, because again, as an example, what we're going through now with this coronavirus, all organization will have to change somehow, okay, and adopt to some type of change. Now, if people are resistant and the stakeholders are resistant to that change, it makes it very difficult. Therefore, it needs to be implemented part of the culture and needs to be engraved and right from the start, and make sure there will be a win-win situation from the organization and to the stakeholders. I'll conclude with that. Thank you very much for your time, much appreciated, and I hope you enjoyed it. Take care, stay healthy, safe and sound, and we'll see you soon. Thank you.